Let's get right into it. Number 1. Cherry pits. Chemical warfare. You've got a bowl of fresh cherries. Perfect for a summer snack. Maybe you even absent-mindedly pop a pit out with your tongue. Stop doing that. Just like the apple, the innocent-looking cherry pit contains amygdalin, the compound that degrades into cyanide. However, the pits of stone fruits like cherries, peaches, apricots, and plums contain this toxin in much higher, more concentrated amounts. If you were to accidentally crunch or grind up a few of those cherry pits, you would be introducing a measurable amount of hydrogen cyanide into your system. Think of it as a small biological anti-theft device for the seed. The fruit is designed to be eaten by an animal, which then poops out the intact hard seed elsewhere. But if an animal breaks the seed open, nature has a very nasty consequence waiting. So the next time you get that urge to chew on a peach pit, remember that you're essentially contemplating a crunchy fruit-flavored poison pill. Number 2. Honey's sticky vomit history. Honey, the sweet nectar of the gods, a natural antiseptic, and a perfect sweetener. You probably think of busy bees buzzing happily from flower to flower, collecting pollen. The reality is a little less picturesque and a lot more, bodily fluid-oriented. Honey is literally bee vomit. Think about it. The bee sucks up nectar from a flower, which is then stored in a specialized second stomach called the honey crop. While it's in there, enzymes begin to break down the complex sugars of the nectar into simpler ones. When the bee gets back to the hive, it regurgitates this enzyme-rich fluid into the honeycomb cell. Then, through an intensive fanning process using their wings, the bees dry out the substance, reducing the water content until it thickens into the sticky golden syrup we know and love. So, every time you spoon honey into your tea or onto your toast, you are actively consuming the concentrated, pre-digested, and partially expelled stomach contents of thousands of insects. Bone appetite. Number 3. Portable water's trace meds. You turn on the tap and out flows clean, cool, life-sustaining water. But if you think that water is just hydrogen and oxygen, you're missing the pharmaceutical cocktail your local treatment plant is struggling to remove. Thanks to our rampant use of prescription drugs, everything from antidepressants and birth control to painkillers and cholesterol meds, tiny trace amounts of these chemicals are flushed down toilets every day. Standard water treatment processes were not designed to filter out these complex organic compounds. As a result, minute concentrations of pharmaceutical residuals are found in many municipal water sources. You're not getting a therapeutic dose, but your morning coffee is brewing with a subtle unlisted ingredient, the collective chemical fallout of modern medical society. Number 4. Rice's hidden arsenic trap. You eat rice almost every day. It's the ultimate staple, the background carbohydrate of civilization. But the very structure that makes rice so hardy and productive is what turns it into a silent, tiny poison dispenser. Rice plants are incredibly efficient at absorbing elements from the soil, and unfortunately, they are champions at sucking up inorganic arsenic, a naturally occurring toxic metalloid. Because rice paddies are flooded, arsenic, which is often present in the soil and water, is more readily absorbed than by other crops. Brown rice, which retains the bran, often has higher levels because the arsenic concentrates there. Now don't panic and burn your pantry. The levels are usually low, but over a lifetime, chronic low-level exposure is linked to health problems. Essentially, your bowl of comforting fluffy rice is quietly asking you to manage your long-term cumulative toxic load. Number 5. The tomato's nightshade lineage. You might think the tomato is just a friendly red orb, a perfect topping for pizza or a crucial base for salsa. But the tomato belongs to the nightshade family, specifically Solanaceae, which is home to some genuinely infamous toxic relatives, including deadly nightshade. Historically, wealthy Europeans were terrified of the tomato, believing it was lethally poisonous. they weren't entirely wrong, just targeting the wrong part. The leaves and stems of the tomato plant contain the toxins timatine and solanine, which are related to the poisons found in potatoes and belladonna. While the ripe fruit is perfectly safe, the plant itself is actively defending its fruit with toxic compounds. The fear was also exacerbated because the acidic tomato juice would leach lead from the expensive pewter plates used by the rich, causing lead poisoning. So, for years, the tomato was viewed as a demonic fruit, killing the rich and making the poor wary. It's the only fruit that came with a built-in historical murder mystery. Number 6. Coffee's natural pesticide. That indispensable cup of coffee that drags you out of bed every morning. It's not just a friendly wake-up, it's a mild, naturally occurring pesticide. Caffeine, the beloved compound that gives you that sweet, sweet buzz, is produced by the coffee plant as a defense mechanism. In the wild, high doses of caffeine in the leaves or seeds can be toxic to insects, effectively paralyzing or killing them. The plant uses it to keep pests from eating its beans and to make the surrounding soil inhospitable to competing seedlings that might try to sprout too close. So, every time you take a gulp of that dark, bitter brew, you are consuming an evolutionary chemical warfare agent designed to keep small bugs from invading the plant's territory. Number 7. Kidney beans lectin attack. Kidney beans are a hearty addition to chili or a vibrant element in a salad. But before you get them into your pot, they absolutely must be properly soaked and boiled. That's because raw or undercooked kidney beans contain very high levels of phytohemagglutinin, a type of lectin. This stuff is seriously nasty. It's an anti-nutrient that causes your red blood cells to clump together and can lead to severe food poisoning symptoms like intense nausea, vomiting, and diarrhea. Interestingly, it doesn't take much. Eating just 4 or 5 raw beans can trigger these symptoms. If you cook them at too low a temperature, you can actually increase the toxicity. It's a classic kitchen paradox. If you mess up your chili, the beans will actively try to expel themselves from your digestive tract. Number 8. Shrimp's fungus fortress. Shrimp. Delicious, crunchy, and a fantastic source of protein. But the appealing pink color you see when they're cooked is often enhanced or even created by a natural compound that serves a very specific and kind of gross biological purpose. Shrimp and other crustaceans often feed on algae and plankton that contain a pigment called axanthin. This chemical is actually a powerful antioxidant, and when the shrimp consumes it, the axanthin concentrates in the shell. When exposed to heat, it turns that shell bright red pink. But here's the kicker. Commercially farmed shrimp are sometimes given synthetic isanthin derived from petrochemicals or more naturally from a yeast called Phaphia rhodozema, specifically to ensure that desirable pink color. You're not just eating a crustacean. You're eating a tiny pink, fungal-fueled fortress of antioxidants. Number 9. Vanilla's Beaver Secret. You're enjoying a decadent scoop of vanilla ice cream, maybe a creamy latte, or perhaps a fluffy cake that tastes like pure sweet innocence. But did you know that one of the earliest and surprisingly still technically viable ways to get that sweet vanilla flavor involves a creature whose primary job is gnawing on logs and building small dams? We're talking about castoreum. This is a secretion from the castor sacs of beavers. Yes, the North American and European kind, which are located, shall we say, rather uncomfortably close to the beaver's anal glands. They use this brown, gooey substance to mark their territory, and it smells and tastes shockingly like vanilla. The FDA even classifies it as a natural flavoring. Now, before you spit out that expensive gelato, know that modern mass-produced vanilla is almost always synthetic vanillin derived from wood pulp or petroleum. But back in the day, if your ancient aunt made a killer vanilla pudding, there was a very real chance she had to wrangle a small, angry rodent for its highly aromatic territorial rear-end oil. Basically, your dessert's rich depth was once a small mammal's aggressive property marker. sleep well. That's all for today. I'll be making similar videos in the future. Subscribe to see them.